With loads of business advice flooding the industry, it has never been harder to see the path to success. And you can't take action if you don't have clarity. Get clear on the actionable tips and strategies that will help to scale your business here on Masters in Clarity, the podcast that brings you clarity around messaging, business growth, digital marketing, personal development, and the business owner's journey to success. Let's join our guide, the master of turning clarity into action and lasting impact, Dolores Hirschmann.
I am so excited for my conversation with Julie Reisler. Julie is a life designer, multi-time TEDx speaker, TV and podcast host, and global brand ambassador. She coaches entrepreneurs and facilitates workshops and masterminds to help participants increase engagement and confidence to take their career and life to the next level. So I've known Julie for a few years, and I think we met because she interviewed me in her podcast. This is maybe 2 years ago. Since then, we've been exchanging tips and messages, and she and I worked together for a little while. And what I love about Julie is that she is in constant curiosity, and in constant curiosity around what it makes to live a full, fulfilled life. So what I want to ask her is, what are some of the things we could do to tap in so that we can live that full life? So if you don't know much about Julie, you don't want to miss this conversation, because I want to extract from her head some tactical and tangible advice on tapping into our intuition so that we can grow bigger. Welcome to an amazing clarity conversation. I am so excited to introduce you to Julie Reisler. Julie is a life designer, not an interior designer, although she helps you design from the inside out. But Julie is a life designer, multi-time TEDx speaker, TV and podcast host, and global brand ambassador. She coaches entrepreneurs and facilitates workshops and masterminds to help participants increase engagement and confidence to take their career and life to the next level. Welcome, Miss Julie. So good to see you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited and grateful to be here.
So you and I have known each other for a while. We've even worked together. It's been such a pleasure to be in your energy. So tell us about today. You have so much clarity. You're so intentional about how you spend your time. We were just talking about that. But was it always this way?
Well, I mean, how much time do we have? Because it certainly was not always this way. And, just go right to the deep end of the pool here. No, I think that there's always been this question before starting my own business, this inner question of, what am I here to do? And how am I going to express this? And, a lot of what the clarity has emerged, it's the lotus flower, right? Like the lotus comes from mud. So I had a lot of mud, a lot of muck. I think we all as humans, if we're conscious and aware and working on our stuff, there's mud. There's that dark stuff that, that at the time, much of it, I did not know what was going to come out of it. But I'm grateful today because so much of those challenges, that mud has really helped me to create or to live into this lotus flower, which it's not like there isn't more mud going on, but I know how to do this now because I've done it a few times and I have a few, I don't know if it's lotuses, but I have a few of them. And, that for me, that clarity has come out of a lot of, lack of clarity.
So let's actually talk about this, because you say, I now know how to do this. So how do we do this? How do we get into the mud? Because I can only assume that it's not about stepping over the mud to get to that lotus space. So how do we get dirty?
Yeah. And I'll share with you for those, without bringing in like all these different assessments and things, but for those who know the Enneagram, I'm a 7. I my like top strength is positivity. So like, and I don't like the mud. I wish I was a gardener. My husband is. I'm not like someone who likes to get her hands dirty. I do in work world, but not really. So getting in the mud, was not really a place I wanted to be. But for me, this really being comfortable looking at what's going on was about 18 years ago when for me, I share very honestly. And in the TED Talks I've done, I talk about, I struggled with food addiction, and it was just a way to close off to feelings and any kind of mud. And the way I dealt with it was to eat and to use sugar and to avoid. I'm going to share with everyone that does not work. Denial, pushing things down. I think we all have some sort of often addiction to something to get us out of the moment. For me, it was getting very clear that I needed support. And that started this whole way of being, which was, I am not going to not look at the mud. I'm not going to pretend it's not there. I'm not going to walk around it. I'm actually going to go in it and be with it and look at what is going on. What are the beliefs? What are the stories? What have I been telling myself? And that was the origination of a lot of deep work that continues today. However, that deep work, led to more stuff coming up and more deep work. And that eventually led to a lot of clarity for me. So, I think a big piece of learning how to do that is the first thing is not pretending, it's not there. It's not denying it. It's not blocking it. And if you are doing that, be kind to yourself. It's a safety mechanism. We do it to stay safe. It's not something to judge yourself on. We're human, and most of us don't want to feel, pain or mud. So,
and this is a fascinating conversation because, as you said, I was floating over the mud nice and clean for a long time until I had the courage or the support or a combination of it to really say, this is not working, I need to go into the mud. And from that day on, you are actually comfortable getting into the mud consistently. It's not that you never go back in. But in some ways, this journey, it's like a juxtaposition of the concept of freedom and the real feeling of freedom. Because, first of all, in a world where there's black and white, tall and short, there's no such thing as joy without pain. Like, not feeling is not feeling, neither the good or the bad. And so have you ever encountered, and, we're shifting more into the work that you do today, have you ever encountered a situation where someone comes in and works with you because they say, I have no feelings. I'm not feeling any of it. If you look at my life, everything is perfect. I am beautiful, my children are beautiful, my husband is beautiful, my business is beautiful, and I can't feel any of it.
Yeah, I think it might appear a little different usually there. If I've had someone be like, well, what I have heard is, this is really like upsetting because there's nothing wrong. Everything looks great. I felt that before, like things look great on the outside. First of all, like, note to everyone listening, that does not mean that that's how you feel on the inside. And, I'm a big fan. I love Glennon Doyle. I loved her book, Untamed. I remember she said it so well. I've heard it in different ways, but she talks about feelings and emotions. It's like thinking of them as Amazon packages, right? Like, you're going to get the package at the door. We want to receive the emotion and receive it and know that that's a gift. So it's like what you said. If I'm avoiding, if I'm avoiding the mud and the darkness and the sadness and the grief or whatever it is I'm feeling, then I'm also going to be less able to receive the feelings of joy. Your spectrum becomes very small. And what happens is life becomes very gray. It feels gray. Mm-hmm. We live in a planet world that has duality. It has polar. You have to feel, I was just listening to something about this, to feel intense joy and connection. There've got to be moments where you don't feel that to get what that is. And it's an important piece of being a human, of emotions on the spectrum. So yeah, I've definitely had clients. I had someone recently, and we worked on really being okay with and learning how to be with your feelings, be with those emotions, be with the mud, especially for those like me who are like, no, thanks. I'd like to go to joy, please. I'll take joy.
Yes, Kip.
Yeah, just take that. Yeah.
So let's talk about it. What is the process of really, and I'm understanding and I'm hearing you. It's all this, almost this concept of becoming fully alive with all that that means. What does that journey look like?
Yeah, I mean, so I have, and I'm coming from a couple bunch of different ways of doing this, and what I can share what's worked for me and what I help others with. But I came through support systems, and there's therapy and coaching and 12 steps, and then inner child work, and you can look at all these different aspects. I think the real thing is number one, you've got to first be aware and just honor that it's there. I look at it as like a little flare. Like if you had a little flare, if your tire had an issue and you'd stop, like it's here to send a message. It's being aware of it. I personally, at this point, I like to dialogue with that aspect of myself. And I like to first say something to myself, like, whatever it is you feel is okay, and I will not abandon you. I am here with you. I did a lot of abandoning myself, and I actually think there's a correlation between that and autoimmune conditions. That's a whole different conversation. Yeah. And I just my own research on myself and people I've worked with. So I just first kind of create that container of compassion and non-judgment, which is not always easy. And I just welcome it. Like, hey, I feel this. I'm with you. I am not going to abandon you. Let's look at it. And I often will do this. Helps me to actually get out a journal. I like pen to paper. There's something very different than typing. So I write out, trigger. What are you feeling? What might be, and I just ask, what might be going on? What might this be about? And I keep asking and asking, what might be under that? What do I need to heal? I just ask these questions, usually very simple. What is the trigger? What might this be about? What do I need to learn? What do I need to know? How can I soothe myself, or how can I heal? And it's just amazing what comes out when I do that. There are times I haven't been sure what I feel. I just feel off. Frankly, I'm just going to name it. Like a lot of us, especially those entrepreneurial are wanting to be, you look on social media and you can have a major feeling like crappy about yourself because you see someone who just, I don't even know what, just landed the dream client and is sharing about it, not meaning to.
Or so they say, doesn't matter. Yeah.
So they say, or it's a perfect picture that's like, whatever. And it, if I'm not grounded in me, or even when I am grounded, sometimes I still feel like, oh, I could have done more. I feel like maybe I did something wrong, or envious, or all those feelings, they come up, less so the more that I stay grounded, connected in my lane, but they come up. And so what I'm learning to do, and I teach this and try to help others. And I would just say I think we have to look at it, because otherwise those emotions live in our body. I don't want to be holding on to them in my cells, in my emotional body. So, journaling helps me. I don't always know what I feel, to be honest. My first instinct, honestly, is to go get a chocolate bar. But I've learned when I hear that, I don't do that because it just doesn't work for my body. And that becomes an addictive cycle. So, okay, I want chocolate bar. Something's up. What's up? I'm here. I'm with you. I'm compassionate. Whatever you feel, I will not abandon you. I'm listening. And I go write about it often, or I'll find someone to verbalize it. And then I get clarity, like, oh, I feel not good enough. Oh, worthiness. Okay. All right. That's what we're dealing with.
We can work with that. Like once, and that's the beauty of the curious journey, or the inquiry, right? Because everybody thinks, and I'm Masters in Clarity is our company, and we work with people who come to us for clarity. And the truth is, what my job at Masters in Clarity is to turn everybody into masters of their own clarity. It's not about us become masters of people's clarity, because what I'm hearing from you is your internal personal inquiry will reveal what is going on, and will also reveal the action or the non-action that needs to be taken. And so talk to me about your journey of how did you become this expert in guiding people through to be, and what many of the things that your clients accomplish is they develop their own they connect with themselves, they develop their intuition, they begin living within their own physical and mental and emotional space with less addiction to the outside world. And when I say addiction, it could be someone else deciding for me, perfection, workaholic. Like there's so many, some of them look good on the outside, but it still makes you dependent on something else.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'll say, that's my internal process, but I always always have a coach that I work with as well. I have someone I work with, and I've been doing that the 10 years I've been coaching. And I think it's important and helpful to have someone else as well. So I'll just say that but I do think we all have that ability. Yeah. For me, it's super interesting. I'll try to make this really succinct, cause it's a journey. I was a psych major. I didn't want to become a therapist, although I have high respect for therapists and all of that whole world. I was in a really intensive personal development program, and I was a lot of transformation that I then was asked to coach. This is like 13 years ago. And I fell in love with it. I still had my daytime job. I was going through a major transition in my life. I was getting consciously uncoupled, divorcing, and I had 2 kids like under the age of 2 or 3 at the time. So really intense time. Started coaching for this program and was like, whatever this is, I'm here to do this. And it was interesting. This is before coaching really became what it was. Went back while I was in my day job, full-time day job, single mom, went back and got my master's degree. Very lucky, beautiful university. It was in health and wellness coaching, but with an integrative approach. And I literally had classes on mind, body science, on the brain, on all of these things that I'd always, I was learning experientially, and then had my own health breakdown because I was pushing myself. And I saw, oh my gosh, when you push too hard, it affected my body. When I abandoned myself all those years, it affected my body. And I just started living what I was learning. So, this wasn't just, I was like, oh, darn it, I am an experiential learner. So I literally was applying what I was learning in my degree, and then, using the work, helping others, and just fell in love with this work. I mean, I left, a somewhat cushy day job as a single mom to start my business because the coach I worked with, that first coach, changed my life. He asked one question that totally changed the way I looked at my whole life, the whole thing. I mean, I'm talking people that have these light bulb moments. It literally, I can remember I was like, what just happened? And it gave me the courage to listen to my inner voice. And so from there, teaching at Georgetown, coaching others, this work, I think, is the ticket to sovereignty and freedom. Yeah. I think what we need, frankly, our world that's why I always say we can't have enough coaches. I think our world is asking for this work. Comes from a place of, appreciative inquiry, of unlocking your own inner wisdom. It's a very empowering model. And I have someone who's always working with me. And I think, in terms of clarity, I don't know a better way to get to clarity than through this type of work.
Not around.
Through, yeah.
Through whatever that is, but through the mud, through the inquiry, not around.
That's right.
So what was that question that changed your life?
Oh, yeah. So I had this, I think we all have this gift of intuition, of inner knowing. I have it pretty intensely, and I blocked that as well. And I had this sense with the person I'd married, really wonderful person, but not the best fit. And I'd pushed that down for a long time, married quite a while. And I did not know what to do. And I was really struggling. And this coach said to me, he wanted me to coach his program. And he said, listen, I really think you need to we first need to look at what's happening at home. He said, Julie, just let me ask you this. If you knew, because I didn't know what to do, I didn't want to ruin my family's life. Right. And he said, if you knew your life would be fantastic and really powerful, either way, what decision would you make? Would you stay married or would you get divorced? I'd never contemplated that and it sounds so silly, but I had thought I'm trapped, I'm doomed. Either way, it's going to be awful. And I was like, my life can be great. And I could, what? And I knew in that second, it wasn't even a question. I said, I don't want to stay married to him. It's not right for me. And he said, great, go do that. And I said, okay, I'm going to do that. We decided I'm going to do that graciously, kindly, with love. And it was really powerful to create and design that uncoupling with really that type of empowerment.
I love that. And it brings back to your core identity as a life designer. I mean, designing doesn't have to be disruptive, doesn't have to be aggressive, doesn't have to have a hedge hammer or whatever you call that. Design is intentional and is aligned. And so I love that. And I love, what I'm hearing is that sometimes we have a choice that we're not allowing ourselves to make. And because we are surrounding that option as a dangerous zone. And so we just let's see what we can make the best on this zone, but that's not even negotiable. And I think that's kind of at the core of a life designed to align with who you are and your intuition is having the courage to have everything be able to put on the table and see, and with no fear.
Yeah. Well, and I would say the fear, I would say this, it's funny. I had a little fear, but it was not overpowering the deep knowing and conviction and clarity or commitment. And so once it's great to say that and to really remember because I've been able to lean into that again. Like I know what it's like, to shift something completely. And like you said, for some listening, it hopefully might be, but probably won't be necessarily a divorce. It might be starting your business. It might be writing a book, whatever it is. It's, I think that to me, it comes back to really trusting that you have an inner intelligence and guidance that is always for your highest good, that is always for the highest good of those around you, those you're here to serve. And that when I tune into that and I trust that and I take, inspired action, not just action, but inspired action, that leads to the type of outcome I've just seen over and over again, that it's like better than what I could imagine. It doesn't mean it's easy. I'm going to be honest. Like that was not easy to uncouple, to go through that divorce experience. It wasn't easy with the health situation that I've been in, or to start a new business out of nothing. Yet the clarity, like you were saying, that was so anchored in that the fear, whatever it was, it kind of was like, okay, I see you, fear. Like you're going to be there. I'm just, you're not driving this thing. I'm not
Yeah.
going to let you drive it.
Who's the driver there? So let's talk about today. We've been talking about clarity. We've been talking about, getting the clarity we need to make a decision or to take an action. How does that dynamic work for you right now? Do you have any tools or tips? Whether it's muscle testing or something around, for anybody who's listening who needs to make a decision, how much clarity do you need to make a decision right now?
Yeah, I have learned for myself, and many people I've worked with, that we have this tuning fork, this body that is not. I don't think we fully. At least I'm just starting to understand how intelligent it is and how much information it has. So what I have learned is that if a decision is not a full bodied, and I mean a full yes, then I pause and I wait, and I don't take action until I get that resounding yes. That's taken a while to do. I think a great way to kind of see or feel into what is that yes for you is, number one, start noticing, when it is a yes, how does that feel in your body, what kind of, what are you feeling? What are you saying to yourself? What does it feel like when it's a maybe and a no? Start to get to know the yes and the no. A very simple practice that I know works for me, and I've seen work with many others, is just really simply, when there's a decision, do you lean in or are you leaning back? When you lean in,
Like physically.
because our bodies, look, people, the whole world of the social psychology, but criminal psychology knows this. In your body doesn't lie. Your body never lies.
Cannot, yeah.
Cannot lie. So I say tune into, sometimes if you don't know, just feel it. Like, are you leaning forward? Are you slowing down? Are you like nodding your head? Are you pulling back? Like, oh, I don't want to be part of this. Just watch your body language. Truly, it's going to tell you oftentimes. And then of course, the other thing to do is I give myself always a 24-hour rule with any, especially a bigger decision. I pause. I wait for some sort of inspiration about it. I will write about it. But I don't just make a decision anymore. I really, to me, we want to be aligned. We want that clarity of yes. Otherwise, where you're creating from is not going to be fully aligned. It's what I've seen for me.
Yeah, for me, one of the things that I feel, and I don't know, but when I'm it could be a meeting or it could be on stage, but when I'm in a space where my creativity is being activated, I actually shake. My body shakes. I could be in an hour-long meeting where nobody can see that, but I could be in an hour-long meeting when most of the time my body is at a level of kind of like high vibration and literally shakes, and I
Wow.
freeze for the whole hour.
Amazing. And that's the thing, you've noticed that. So first you got to first notice, what do you do? Like I have a thing where I lean in and I'm like, like I have a sound that I make. I'm very tonal. Yeah. Like you have shaking, like your body is telling you it's higher frequency.
Yeah.
There's all these clues. You just got, we got to just pay attention. To me, why I love this is because everyone has it. You don't have to pay for it. You got it for free. It's part of your birthright. Like we all got it, but we're all different. Every body is different. Every, sense of inner wisdom is different. So it's worth it. It's worth the time to just start seeing, okay, how do I respond?
I love that. I love that. So, what are you excited about this year or in the near future? What are you working on?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I've fallen in love with this. So I think what's emerged actually from this pandemic time is my coaching certification program. I am in love with it. I've sort of taken, I've taught at Georgetown for a while, and at my university, I was teaching there as well. And I just got to take all of the experience with coaching and then add in the body wisdom and intuition and kind of I call it the art and science and integrative healing aspects of coaching. So that's been really fun. I would say what's really kind of on the horizon, I just am in the midst of my next book. And that is, I really believe in, oh gosh, this whole topic is about overcoming imposter syndrome and doubt and really stepping into, your full self, your whole self. So I'm working on the book. It's called Who Does She Think She Is?
Oh, I
And
love that.
thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I have a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of energy around that. And then we'll see. I'm looking to create something very special, I think in the next year, just a small, intimate, probably some sort of mastermind for women that really want like an intimate year, soulful experience of not just the business side of running a business, but also the energetic side. So we'll see. I haven't fully created it, but it's just keeps coming into my, like, I get excited when I think about it, and that's kind of where I feel into it. So we'll see. But the book is definitely, I will be done in early fall.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see that. And so, let's talk about where do you find your inspiration? So, what is a book? Nowadays, there's Netflix series that are great as well. What is a book or a podcast or a series that is either your go-to or the one that you recommend the most? And then you mentioned Glenn Doyle, but
Yeah. Yeah, she's wonderful. Oh, I have a lot. Let me see. I mean, the one that got this all moving for me was Julia Cameron's Artist's Way.
yes,
Amazing,
that's amazing.
amazing book. I actually got to do a retreat with her. I love her. She is very genuine. She walks her talk. And she has, I think it's Walking in the World is her second book. She's just beautiful, just very wise.
Walking in the world. I'm gonna write that.
Walking in the World. Yes, she's amazing. Julia Cameron, anything by her. I mean, I still will read and listen to anything by Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay. I don't care that I mean, I wish they were still here and alive, but I listen to a lot of them. The other one, actually, and I just gratefully interviewed him yesterday, was Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God. And it's spiritual. It's not religious, but it's very spiritual, and it really gets into this collective consciousness, unity, oneness, supporting one another. I love his work. There are so many others that I listen to. I mean, I still, I always have an affinity. The Miracle Morning with Hal Elrod. I love his work. You Are a Badass,
I
all of
love
those.
that.
And Barbara Stanny, Houston, actually, I love her Sacred Success and her work around. She just wrote Rewire for Wealth, but she's just a really powerful woman who overcame quite a bit to kind of learn how to do her business and life from a place that honors, I think, both the feminine and the masculine. So her and And I would say, oh God, I could keep going, but there's so many. I mean, those are just a few.
But the common denominator that I'm hearing, and I will check some of these books, is about those guides that came before us or with us, but that are, creating that container of inner power for outer impact.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and I have seen this 100% myself, because I've done a lot of, exploring and digging in the mud. I mean, I've done a lot of, especially being part of the whole 12-step world, I've done a lot of work in that world as well. And so looking at everything, the common denominator is always me. It's always you, ourselves. And just the trick, I think, is really not coming from judgment, but getting whatever is going on inside, whatever I'm seeing on the outside is a reflection of what's happening inside. So to me, that's hopeful and exciting news. That's why this whole life design, I mean, we all get to design it. We really do. We're doing it consciously or unconsciously, actually, in all moments. And so I'm just curious, while I'm here, hopefully for a long time more, I would really like to see and be part of a humanity planet that is thriving on connection and cooperation and community and unity and love and joy. And I know this sounds trite, but okay, well, if I want that, I've got to find that within myself and learn how to be that.
In community, in collaboration with my body and my mind and my heart, becoming whole first.
And it doesn't mean at all times perfect. It's harmony is the word. It's not about, it's always going to feel that way. Cause then we go back to what we started with, where, we live in a world of duality. So you're going to have the mud. You have to have that to have the lotus. So, but being okay with that, and really honoring it. And that has taken me a long time. I'll be honest, a long time to be able to sit with feelings that don't feel comfortable. But what I found is they pass through. It is worth it to go through. Take it from me. Try not to go around or hop over. It doesn't work.
Because it's like a circle. You go back to the start. Back to the start. It's through, not around.
It's through. I think the last thing quickly I'll say too, the gift of it, like most of what I'm doing has come through and is so powerful for me because I've been in the mud and I get it. So there are gifts, oftentimes who we serve, who we're here to help, comes from going through it. So I wouldn't change that. It's just, I have to remind myself when I'm there, trust me. That's why we have people in our lives like you and others that I feel very connected to. We find people that we can, make sure we're getting support and accountability and love and compassion in that sacred space.
I love that. So for those listening to you who might have been introduced to some words in just our brief conversation, like the word of intuition or the word of getting in the mud, the statement of getting into the mud, what is one simple, doable step they could take from listening to us today?
Great question. I love that. I think a very simple one brings in, there's a lot of science behind this. I'm not going to go into it now, but around heart intelligence, around heart and brain coherence. This is a thing. Look at heart math. They have a ton of information, a very simple place to start. And I actually end my day this way. And I start my day this way is just start by grounding yourself, put your hand on your heart or both hands on your heart. First of all, connect like this organ, no joke. Right? Completely. And I'm not talking just what it's doing in terms of pumping blood, which in itself is pretty miraculous, but there's also literally, neurons of intelligence. So connecting, feeling, your heart. I would typically, when you do that, you want to think of something that you feel grateful for or appreciative of, bring that into your body. And I would just start with even asking your heart, asking your higher wisdom, what is an intention for right now? How can I honor myself more right now? What is a message for me? Something very direct, very clear, very succinct, small. And just notice what you might hear, feel, see, sense. I'm telling you, I've done this work. It is unbelievable. It's very different than what you find in your brain. Very different. And start there as a place to just ground and be like, oh my gosh, there's something here. Most of us know that intuitively anyhow.
I love that. So just to recap, put your hand on your heart or both hands on your heart. Simply be there, take a breath and ask, what is my intention for me right now? What is there for me right now? And simply just listen. I love that. So, Miss Julie, where can people find you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. It's my favorite conversation. And the easiest place to probably find me is my website, which is just my name, juliereisler.com. Podcast is wherever you find podcasts, but everything is on my website. And yeah, I think if anybody is curious to discuss any of this or just connect, I love people. I love connecting.
And Julie's been very generous. And if you can go to her website, and we'll put everything in the show notes, you can download her book, her first book, from the website right now. And you're just going to have to wait and be patient for her second book. I love the title. Who do you think she is? Is that what the title?
Who she thinks she is.
Who does she think she is? Love that. Oh boy, that's going to be a little bit of a rebel rouser there.
Yeah, it's going to be, if you want to get the lotus, you got to go in the mud. This will be going in.
I love that. I love that. Well, Julie, thank you so much for making time for this conversation and for bringing this work to all of us here in this world and helping us get into our mud so that it can come out with our light.
Oh, thank you so much, Dolores. I love, love, love what you're up to. I totally see the light in you. And as I'm looking at my crystal lotus here, I'll show it so we can add it in here. You can just add that to the frame. Beautiful. Thank you for being a light as well and all that you're doing. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. I just had a great time chatting with my friend Julie. And one of the things we talked about is all about this alignment, internal alignment. And how do we find that internal alignment so that we can make decisions from a place of honoring who we are, honoring our own purpose, honoring our own path. And so one of the things we talked about was this capacity that we humans have when we stop and listen and reflect of really being our own guides. In her programs and in her work, she helps people master their own intuition. Kind of like what we do at Masters in Clarity, we help people master their own clarity. Well, she helps people master their own life and master their connection with their highest self. She tells the story of how she went through, completely disconnected, not aligned. Her life was in a situation where it just wasn't what she wanted. It wasn't bad. And from the outside, it actually looked fine. But from the inside, it was a slow death. And so she tells the story of how she needed to go in first, reconnect with her life, the internal life that many of us have lost touch with, because we do have I call it the internal genie, right? But that intuition that knows what we want and what we need. And so she talks about how she went and tapped in to be able to tap out and live a full life. So you don't want to miss our conversation with Julie, where we talk about intuition, clarity, and mastering both.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Masters in Clarity. If you loved today's show, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Share this episode with 2 people in your world, and as a gift, go to mastersinclarity.com/free to download free clarity resources. Join your host, Dolores Hirschmann, next time to continue forging a clear path to your impactful success.